Welcome back. You're watching a Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm Tom Del Beccaro. We'll come to you today live as we do every single day from our little outpost here on Broadway. We're in the Question Tequila Studios in downtown Manhattan. Right down the street, as I mentioned earlier, the Dow is just about flat today, waiting for some news out of the trade talks. Bitcoin down $100. No real fears there. Things should be okay. We'll talk more about that in the second hour. But for the lead-off segment, you bring in on Money Monday the money guest, and Tom Del Beccaro joins us again. Tom, thanks for joining us in studio today. Because we have three Italians on set, I thought we might.
I made it just in time.
We have some homemade fried meatballs there, a little prosciutto bread. So we'll celebrate in a moment. Tom's the author of the book, The Divided Era. The more the government decides for us, the more government divides us. And you recently wrote an op-ed on this impeachment stuff, and I'm with you. Like the Saturday Night Live episode is about the same as what's happening in Congress. It's all made for TV.
Yeah, it is made for TV. I've been an attorney for 32 years, and if you think about it, if you go back to Watergate, those hearings were kind of breathless because you didn't actually know what was about to come out of the mouths of the witnesses. But this time around, they've taken in advance the deposition of all of these people. So they talk to them for 4 or 5 hours, and then what the Democrats do is they have their counsel cull through all that, reduce it to about 45 minutes, save all the best parts, and create these really long leading questions, very dramatic, to paint this picture. So this isn't about getting to the truth per se. This is about putting on a show, putting the president in the worst possible light, and then have the Republicans cross-examine it. This isn't about the truth in the long run. This is about damaging Trump for 2020.
You know, it is so interesting, Tom, that so much of the discussion about these impeachment proceedings have been compared not to the most recent impeachment from 20 years ago, but from the impeachment of President Nixon, or almost near impeachment of President Nixon, as you alluded to. Nancy Pelosi was certainly playing that card. She was on CBS's Face the Nation. This is what she said over the weekend.
Every opportunity to present his case. But it's really a sad thing. I mean, what the president did was so much worse than even what Richard Nixon did. But at some point, Richard Nixon cared about the country enough to recognize that this could not.
Boy, I had no idea she was such a Nixon fan. It must be a California thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a convert, a late convert. Look, in fact, it's not even close. In fact, what President Trump didn't even match what Obama did between January of 2016 and March, where he and the DNC worked to get dirt from Paul Manafort while the Ukraine was asking for military help. And of course, it benefited Obama personally because he was worried, that Trump would ruin his legacy. So the Democrats then actively engaged the Ukraine. We know Hillary bought information from the Ukraine. They involved the Ukraine in American politics, but suddenly they're virgins and don't want anybody to talk to anyone from abroad. Republicans need to get that information into the hands of independent voters. They can't just argue with other Republicans or talk to the Washington Post because that message isn't getting out. If you compare what Trump did to what Obama did, to what even Bill Clinton did when he asked Tony Blair to campaign for him, or go all the way back to Teddy Kennedy when he asked Brezhnev to do things to hurt Ronald Reagan. And oh, by the way, you remember that conversation where Obama said to Medvedev, the Russian...
Tell Vladimir.
Yeah, why did he do that? To help his reelection, he told Vladimir, don't do anything provocative in us. That's the underlying theme, so I can get reelected. And you know why?
There's a long-standing history of presidential candidates and presidents in both parties doing this with world leaders since the beginning of the Republic, right?
Yes, and as an attorney, I can tell you that should be the precedent. You have to compare it to that. I get all the time people on the left saying, this isn't about what Obama did. It's only about what Trump did. To which I say, if you had some kids and one kid did something and then the day later the next kid did it, would you punish your next child? No, of course you wouldn't. It's precedent. This is what Andrew McCarthy has been talking about for a long time, which is an effort to undermine. This is campaigning. This is taxpayer-funded opposition research placed the president. You know why? Because the Democrats don't have a consensus candidate.
That's right.
You saw Obama yesterday on TV talking about essentially a civil war among the Democrats, and then you had the squad rip Obama for that. They don't have a good candidate, so they want to fight us.
So
fight Obama. I mean, fight Trump and anyone on the right.
Tom, John has been focusing a lot on these 31 congressional districts that were won by President Trump and are currently occupied by Democrats. Several of them are right here in our area, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. There's a couple, I believe, in California
4 or
as
5.
well. So, we have been paying close attention to these. Now, one of those red district Democrats, Congressman Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, only a freshman, he was on television over the weekend explaining why he's one of only 2 Democrats in the House to oppose the impeachment inquiry. This is what he said.
Out in the street is,
Yeah.
with most people, is they're kind of tired, they're kind of worn out, they're kind of bored,
Yeah.
most folks, and they really want to move on unless there's something new and amazing. We know the end game here.
And
We
the
know
end
that
game.
Tired, bored, and worn out. That is me to a T in this whole impeachment discussion. And I'm curious, every one of these 31 congressmen has got to be politically ambitious. Why wouldn't more of them be taking the attitude that Jeff Van Drew is taking just for their own electoral preservation?
Well, look, part of the divided era is the more the stakes get, the parties get wider and wider apart, and party discipline becomes a premium. And they're afraid to walk away from Nancy Pelosi's fundraising machine. You can say whatever you want about Nancy Pelosi's policies, but she's an incredibly effective speaker when it comes to getting people elected and raising money. So they're afraid to walk away from her, especially in California.
Where Frankie and I live in the New York 11th Congressional District, we had like a long run of Republicans. And last year, the Republican incumbent in the midterms got knocked out by this Democrat. He's a military vet. He went around saying how he's going to be a uniter, and he's not. And he wrote an op-ed in our local paper, and he said, "I'm against impeachment." Congressman Max Rose, I'm talking about, turned out to be nothing but a liar. He wrote in our local paper, he's against impeachment. It will divide us. And then Nancy Pelosi, to your point, came down and told him, "You're going to get a tough challenge from the right. If you want my money, you better be on for impeachment." 2 weeks after his op-ed, he flipped and went for the impeachment.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the House has flipped 4 times since the mid-'90s, right? And it could flip again. There's only 19 necessary to flip the House.
So, Tommy, before you go, we always appreciate you
I thought
coming
we were
down.
staying all day.
You made a
Because
nice plate.
the Jets won a football game, and I'll be here forever.
You made a nice plate for yourself there. Those are some fried meatballs from my good friend Freddie's Gourmet. What do you think about them? Meatballs.
I do, and you know, I like the parsley he's got in there.
Pork.
That's how my mother did
Pork,
it.
beef, and veal mixed. Parmesan, a lot of garlic. They're good.
Yeah, that's how my mother used
Okay,
to
and what
make
about the prosciutto bread? That's
I haven't tried that yet because I'm coughing already.
Well, we're adding some solids to the liquid lunch, and Tom Del Beccaro, when he's in town, he always does a salad, comes down, tells you where the rubber meets the road. He ran the California Republican Party, and they got like 5 seats out there that we need to get back, so we got to keep them well fed, and we got to keep them coming back to the show. Tom, thanks a lot.
All right,
go out and check out his book. Here it is, if you didn't check it out already. The Divided Era talks about the more power we give government, the more we actually get divided. There will be no division here. We'll come back after this and check in on the impeachment hearings. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV.